Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we are continuing with Sri Caitanya Charitamrta Adi Lila chapter 4 verse number 176. Evam mad artho jihita loka veda swanam hi vomai anuvrittaye balaha maya paroksham bhajata tirohitam masu yutam parhatha tat priyam priyaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O my beloved gopis, you have renounced social customs, scriptural injunctions, and your relatives for my sake. I disappeared behind you only to increase your concentration upon me. Since I disappeared for your benefit, you should not be displeased with me. Purport. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 32, verse 21, was spoken by Lord Krishna when he returned to the arena of the Rasa Lila. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmanitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. This is such a beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, where we see the full surrender of the gopis, that they gave up everything, whether it was relatives, house, family, whatever it is, they left everything. In other words, they are following the 18.66 verse from Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityagya mamekam sharanam vraja. So this gives us an indication. Of course, we cannot copy the gopis, but we can follow in their footsteps. This is what Srila Prabhupada says. We should not imitate, but we should try and follow. So what does that mean? Give up everything. Now that's very scary for all of us. Give up everything? Oh no, that's not possible because we are attached to everything. But here we can at least try by focusing only on Krishna. Now, this verse is spoken when Krishna was with the gopis in the Rasa Lila. They were performing Rasa Lila, and then suddenly Krishna disappeared. Now, when he disappeared, naturally the gopis were very sad, that because for them, Krishna is life. Like if they don't see Krishna, they feel like we are not living at all. There is no air in the body. There is no, what is that called, jivan. There's no life in the body. Like it's like a lifeless body. This is how they felt. And because he disappeared, they started looking for him everywhere. Because for gopis, they want to see Krishna all the time. So here in this verse, it is mentioned, Krishna is telling the gopis, I disappeared to increase your focus on me. Now, if gopis have already reached that perfect stage, what more is needed, right? So we should not be satisfied with whatever we are doing. Even after perfection, here Krishna is saying that I disappear to increase your focus so that, their concentration also increases, their love also increases. Srila Prabhupada says that love for Krishna is endless. It's not that, oh, now I've reached the stage where I love Krishna, now I'm done. No. It has to keep increasing and increasing. But of course, to do that, it requires a lot of practice. It requires a lot of seriousness and sincerity. And what was very not surprising, but interesting for me was Krishna is saying that I disappeared for your benefit. Gopis are already on perfect stage, perfect love, topmost love for Krishna. And yet he says, I disappeared for your benefit. So many times I hear that, oh, we are so unfortunate. We don't get to see our spiritual master so often. You know, he comes only once a year to Atlanta. And, you know, that also we don't know if this year he will come or not, you know. So we feel that separation, that I wish we could, you know, when we see photos, you know, so many devotees with Guru Maharaj in Delhi or wherever, we say, oh, wish we were also there, right? But here we can see that the Vani of the spiritual master is important. If we are focusing on his instructions, then that is as good as associating with the spiritual master, even though he may not be present in Vapu, in personal form in front of us. So here, Krishna is saying that he disappeared for their benefit. Now, does anyone remember from Srimad Bhagavatam where Krishna had appeared and disappeared? No, besides the gopis.
Dhruva Maharaj.
Yes, Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj, he was meditating on Krishna, and Krishna appeared, gave him darshan and then disappeared. Why? Because he wanted Dhruva Maharaj to increase his focus, increase his love for Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Gita ji. So
Yes.
Narad also, once he came and for this lifetime I won't visible again, like that he said.
Narad Muni?
Also.
Mm.
Narad Muni,
When he was previous birth.
voice. Only the voice.
Previous
Oh,
birth.
okay, okay. Thank you so much. So the point is that the reason, you know, Krishna appeared so that that love for him is increased. You know, having a darshan, most people, you know, if supposing Krishna gives the darshan and disappears, it'll be like, oh, good, we had nice darshan. Thank you. But for a serious devotee, that would be like, you know, oh, how can I see him again? We want to see him again, right? So this is what Krishna did. He disappeared from the Rasa Leela so that the gopis, they start searching for him and they start remembering him more. And not only that, they also, you know, start talking about him, glories of Krishna, right? Have you heard from Srimad Bhagavatam, if you remember, that when Krishna had disappeared, Radha Rani and all the gopis, they were just moving around, talking to the trees. Have you seen Krishna? Talking to the grass. Have you seen Krishna? You know, talking to the birds, talking to the parrot, because they were so much attached, so much in love with Krishna that they wanted to see him. So he disappeared. It says, Krishna says he disappeared to increase their devotion and attachment for him. But Prabhupada says in the purport of this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, he did not stop loving them. It's not that, you know, okay, I'm gone, Rasa Leela finished, I am gone, and forget. No, he still loved them. This is what Srila Prabhupada says, that once we come to Krishna consciousness, then Krishna takes our lives in his hands. That's scary, isn't it? That means he can make us dance the way he wants. For most people, that's scary because we don't want to lose control. I want to control this and I want to control that. But here we see that the gopis, they were already perfect. They were on the topmost level of love for Krishna. Still, Krishna wanted to increase their love for him, which means that path to loving Krishna is endless. It never comes to an end. It shouldn't be like in the morning, we chant our 16 rounds and then done for the day, right? Leave the beads on the side and tell the beads, see you tomorrow. right? Done. I'm done for the day. No, it should be such that we keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting. Otherwise, what will happen? In fact, I was in Harrisburg class, was it yesterday? No, day before on Thursday. And Vishnu Gada Prabhu was giving the class. And there was someone asked a question that what happens if a person remembers the spiritual master at the time of death? Where does that person go? Where does that devotee go? So Vishnu Gada Prabhu was explaining that just like when we think of Krishna, we go to Krishna. So if we think of spiritual master, we will go where the spiritual master is, right? So then another question was, what if the husband goes back to Godhead and the wife thinks of husband at the time of death? Where will she go?
They'll come back together again.
Huh?
They'll come back together again.
No, no, no. Better husbands don't hear that. Don't hear that, Krishna Shanam.
We'll go to husband's where husband has gone.
Yes, they will go where the husband is gone. But the $1,000,000 question is, did he go to back to Godhead? Because it depends on what we are thinking at the time of death. And say, supposing right now I'm leaving the body, can any of you tell what I'm thinking just before leaving the body? No, right? So here we see that the gopis, they were at that level of perfection, and that is what should be our focus, at how somehow or the other we can think of Krishna all the time. And that is possible when we do attentive chanting. As Srila Prabhupada says, it's minimum 16 rounds. We forget minimum, we remove that from our dictionary. Okay, minimum hatao, and only 16 rounds, because we want to finish our quota of rounds every day. So gopis, even though they were at that perfect stage, still Krishna wanted them to increase their perfection, their love for him. So that means we are trying to understand how to follow the example of the gopis. Let's see what he says in verse number 177. Krishnera pratikna eka ache purva haite ye yaiche bhaje Krishna tare bhaje taiche. Translation. Lord Krishna has a promise from before to reciprocate with his devotees according to the way they worship him. This is very, very fair. Where do we get this promise? Yes, in Bhagavad Gita, ye yathama prapadyante tams tatheva bhajamiham. He says, as one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly. That doesn't mean that I will surrender this much and Krishna should reward me this much. No, it is based on our surrender. He reciprocates. So degree of reciprocation depends on our efforts. So we have a choice. Is our surrender 10%? Is it 20? Is it 50? Or is it 100%? Based on that, we will get the reward. In verse number 178, it's the same one which we just recited. Ye yathama prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamiham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Translation. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Purport. Krishna was never ungrateful to the gopis. For as he declares to Arjuna in this verse from the Bhagavad Gita 4.11, he reciprocates with his devotees in proportion to the transcendental loving service they render unto him. Everyone follows the path that leads towards him, but there are different degrees of progress on that path. And the Lord is realized in proportion to one's advancement. The path is one, but the progress in approaching the ultimate goal is different. And therefore, the proportion of realization of this goal, namely the absolute personality of Godhead, is also different. The gopis attained the highest goal, and Lord Caitanya affirmed that there is no method of worshipping God higher than that followed by the gopis, topmost love of the gopis. So Srila Prabhupada also is saying that everyone is searching for Krishna. It's just that some know it and some don't know about it, right? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada also mentions that some like to realize Krishna in the Brahman stage, like the effulgence, effulgence of the Lord, Brahma Jyoti. Some like to realize as Paramatma within the heart, as a super soul. But Prabhupada says the highest level of self-realization is to realize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Why does Krishna have to take the trouble to be in everyone's heart? Is it that he has no other business to do? He has vela beta hai, he has no work, nothing to do. Okay, let me go in the heart of all the living entities. No, there's a reason behind. The reason is so that he can guide us, provided we want the guidance. He's not going to force himself, right? That is my philosophy in life. I will not advise anyone if there is no question asked to me. That's the best policy, to not fall in trouble at all. Don't keep giving advices to everyone. Oh, do this or do that. Or no. Many times I'm asked a question. Why don't you say this to your son? Why don't you say this to your grandson? No. The choice is with everyone, right? Krishna is there in everyone's heart. He is there to guide. So that is why Srila Prabhupada says we should take this very seriously. Listen to the super soul within the heart. He is the controller. He is the enjoyer. He is the witness. He is the sanctioner. He is everything, and he's there to guide us. So that realization comes only for pure devotees. That is the stage of self-realization. And so here in this verse, it's saying, Krishna will reciprocate with pure devotees in transcendental attitude. It's nothing to do with material. Just like the devotee wants, one may want Krishna to be the master, one wants Krishna to be the son, another wants, Krishna as the lover or as a friend. Whatever our choices, whatever we want the relationship to be with Krishna, that is what he will reward according to, the main point is intensity of our love. If our love is by the way, when I have time, I will think of Krishna. When I have time, I will read the scriptures. When I have time, I will chant. Then the reciprocation will be in that degree. Of course, pure devotees associate with him everywhere, whether it's here or in the spiritual world. Just before you all came, I was watching on Facebook, Guru Maharaj is in Gandhidham, right, Gujarat, and he is, it's a live session going on where he is, it's a ceremony of opening the eyes of the deities, Radha Krishna. So the pure devotees, doesn't matter where they are, everywhere they are self-realized. They know Krishna. They have seen Krishna. That is what we learned in Bhagavad Gita, that they are Tattvadarshina. They have seen the absolute truth. So what is the result of rendering such devotional service to Krishna? It is transcendental bliss. In fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, verse 10, it says, Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajete purusham param. What does it mean? That whether one is without desire, like the devotees, they don't have any material desires, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or after liberation, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Lord for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. Now, if you notice, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Krishna was never ungrateful to gopis. Gratitude is so important. When we wake up in the morning, the first thing we should do is thank Krishna for giving us one more day to live, right? Because when we went to bed last night, we had no idea that we would wake up the next morning. Of course, we assume, we think that's our rightful claim that tomorrow I should wake up. Tomorrow also I should have one more day. But the attitude of gratitude goes a very long way. So here Krishna was not ungrateful. He reciprocated with them, and he reciprocated to the degree of their love for him. So since everyone has to follow the path, Krishna doesn't say everyone can follow my path. He uses a very strong word, has, which means there is no choice. So why not do it now? Like they say, Kal kare so aaj kare so ab. Whatever you're going to do tomorrow, do it today. No, do it right now. Because we don't know, we don't have an appointment, we don't know, like Parikshit Maharaj, that we are going to leave in 7 days. Let's see the next verse, 179. Se pratikna bhanga haila gopira bhajane tahate pramana Krishna simukha vachane. Translation. That promise has been broken by the worship of the gopis, as Lord Krishna himself admits. Verse number 180. Naparyaham nirvadaya samyujam swasadhu krityam vibhudhai sapivaha yamahabhajan durjaya geha shrinkalaha samrishya tadvaha pratiyatu sadhuna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O gopis, I'm not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 32, verse 22 was spoken by Sri Krishna himself when he returned to the gopis upon hearing their songs of separation. Talking about Gopi Geet. So here, Krishna is unable to repay the debt. Imagine the Supreme Lord is unable to repay the debt for spotless service of the gopis. This is what Srila Prabhupada says, that when we fully surrender to Krishna, then Krishna can come under our control. We like to be controllers, so here's one option, how to be the controller. So here we see that spotless service, that should be our goal. There should be no mixture in our service, whether it is karma, jnana, meditation, or whatever it may be. It has to be pure bhakti, but that is possible under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So, because the spiritual master has given us shelter, can we repay his debt? No, we cannot repay his debt, because even though he has given us a guarantee, a vow that he will take us back to God, and provided we do our part as a disciple, but can we repay? No, we cannot repay the debt of the spiritual master, but we can try by one method. What is that? Preaching. When we preach and spread, just like Guru Maharaj is spreading the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So similarly, if we preach and spread the mission, help the spiritual master, then he's pleased, then we can at least repay a little bit of that debt. So preaching is very, very important. Just see, Guru Maharaj, almost 80 years old, not in very good health, but every 2 days you see him traveling. And even though traveling, like I remember we went to Kurukshetra, how many hours drive was it? 4 hours? 3 or 4 hours drive. Painful. But you see him goes to Kurukshetra, immediately he is there for Mangalarti, he's there to give a lecture, he's there to see the progress of the construction of the new temple, everything. Yesterday in Mumbai, today in Gandhidham, then in Pune, then in Delhi, everywhere. What will be our condition if we were traveling like that? We are sitting comfortably in our homes, right? Heater is on, nice house, nice car, everything, and still we complain. What is the complaint? Especially for old people like us. Knees are paining, back is hurting, fever is there. What to do? How to wake up early in the morning? But here we have an option, we have a choice that we can make by somehow or the other reaching out to others and giving this knowledge to them. So here in this verse, Krishna is talking about domestic ties, which are very difficult to break. Krishna is saying that. And we have experienced that, right? How hard it is to cut the domestic ties. Fortunately, Krishna doesn't say cut it. If Krishna had said that in the Bhagavad Gita, you think so many Bhagavad Gitas would have been sold? No. So here he's saying that domestic ties are very difficult to break. In fact, he is glorifying the gopis by saying, you did break the ties. You left everything and you came running just when I played the flute. You all came running to me, not caring about what the society is going to say. You came just to give me pleasure. So that is how the gopis are eternally glorious. How? By their behavior, by their showing complete surrender to Krishna. So this is that mutual love, mutual affection, mutual perfection between Krishna and the gopis. And that Krishna is wonderfully enhancing. He's glorifying the gopis for their complete surrender. Verse number 181. Tabe ye dekhiye gopira nija dehe prita se hota krishnera lagi jani ha nischita. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Now, whatever affection we see the gopis show for their own bodies, know it for certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. Purport. The selfless love of Godhead exhibited by the gopis cannot have any parallel. We should not, therefore, misunderstand the carefulness of the gopis in their personal decoration. The gopis dress themselves as beautifully as possible just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. They had no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Sri Krishna, taking it for granted that their bodies were meant for his enjoyment. They dressed themselves with the understanding that Krishna would be happy by seeing and touching them. What a high level, very high level of love, devotion for Krishna. It's a, you can say it's a highest level, a highest degree of surrender. Do you remember who was in that consciousness in one of the acharyas? Based on this purport, there's one of the acharyas who had that same consciousness. No, he was not a family man. Yes, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Yes, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, his consciousness was everything of mine belongs to Krishna. My wife, my children, my home, everything, possessions, everything belongs to Krishna. And he taught us by his example to use everything in service of Krishna. So this is what we can do. That is what Bhagavad Gita teaches us. We don't have to give up our families. We don't have to go to the Himalayas or take sannyas. No, not at all. All we have to do is just use everyone and everything in service of Krishna. And that is what the gopis' goal was. They dressed beautifully for Krishna to give him pleasure. It's just a state of consciousness. Here, the scriptures don't say don't dress beautifully, but it's giving us a goal, a reason why we should dress beautifully. It is all for the pleasure of Krishna. So the gopis, they dressed up, they decorated themselves only to satisfy Krishna. Now, Krishna doesn't need satisfaction. He's Atmaram, he's self-satisfied, but he gives us an opportunity to do some service for him. Now we see that the gopis, they did not have any ulterior motive. They did not think that, okay, if we do this, this kind of service for Krishna, then we will get this in return. There was no dhanda, no business with Krishna. The gopis, they had no ulterior motive. But we see most of the times that those who come to bhakti, they do have ulterior motive. But what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? Chatur vidha bhajante mam, that even if you have a motive, come to me. Don't go anywhere else. So we can see the level of devotion of the gopis. Now the gopis, they considered that their bodies belong to Krishna. So their bodies should be used for the pleasure of Krishna. This talking about gopis is a very high level. We can only theoretically talk about it. We can, maybe think about it only theoretically, but practically, or to realize that, is a very high stage. One has to become a pure devotee to understand the level of love of gopis for Krishna. So from this verse, we understand that whatever belongs to us, whether it is, spouse, children, house, car, whatever belongs to us, everything should be used in service of Krishna. Then we will be able to get the mercy of Krishna depending on our serious endeavors. So we will end here at verse number 181. If anyone has any questions.